My name is Thomas Lever and I was a project manager for the Lower Kersal Young People's Group on the Kersal Boom magazine. Kersal Boom was a magazine produced by Lower Kersal Young People's Group and funded by Heritage Lottery. There was originally 5 sites that the group were interested in, but as a group they decided to do the magazine on the Kersal Flats. There was originally 10 young people interested in the project. They were then split into groups: editors, fashion and cooking groups. The young people then started to research the flats from being built to being blown up. This was done by visiting the museums, the film archives, advertising and interviewing people who used to live on the flats. As the magazine progressed, other young people and volunteers joined the magazine group. Once the magazine was completed, the group set about organising and planning for presentations.
I've been with the group quite a few years now, and I've done various things with them, like acting stuff and other activities and whatnot over the years, but I've never actually done anything to do with the area itself and the local history and whatnot and the people who live here and whatnot, and I didn't really do anything to do with them. So yeah, this was the first time I've been involved with it, and it's quite interesting to see how different it was from the other projects I'd worked on previously with the group.
Well, I suppose for me it's always been sort of a passion project to do something in regards to the flats. I have always found them really fascinating, and the fact that the entire community was in such a small confined area. So when the opportunity came around to do a magazine based on the flats, it was something that I was really interested in, and hopefully the kids will have garnered the same level of interest as I have during the project.
Well, first of all, I didn't know that they actually existed, so I learnt about that, and I also learnt that later on during the project that one of my relatives had actually lived in the flats when they'd been up, so that was fun to learn.
I'm a bit older than some of the people who were involved with the project, so I did know about the flats, and I did know that they were around the area and were knocked down, but I didn't really know much about it. I just knew that they were there, and I was quite surprised to find out that they were a sort of very important area to a lot of people who live around there. Like, there was a huge community there that all looked out for one another and all took care of one another. They had their own sort of miniature culture there almost, where they had festivals and parades and stuff, and yeah, it was just interesting to see how just something which you don't really think of as a very important thing, like a block of flats, can have such an impact on so many people and affect them in such a way.
Well, I knew that the flats existed, but I learned like when they were built and when they actually got knocked down, which I didn't know before.
I learned a lot about the community and how strong it was.
My name is Leslie Lever and I was the cook on the Heritage Kersal Boom project. The young people and I had several meetings to decide how to go forward on the cooking project. We started researching the internet for the different types of food from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and the year 2000. Part of the project was a taster session for the group to guess which era the food was from. Once we decided what we wanted to cook, we did a shopping list, and over the weeks we cooked, photographed and then tasted the food. The young people really enjoyed doing this.
For me, one of the main things I wanted to get across in relation to the magazine was the design aesthetic. I wanted each spread to be a different design aesthetic, representing a different decade. So you'll notice in the first bed it's 50s and 60s, then you've got the 70s, 80s and 90s. So each of them has a different look. So the 50s and 60s will look very old, will look very, sepia tone, black and white. 70s will infuse a bit of colour, we'll go with the Jubilee aspect of that. 80s representative of the floods, so a little bit water damage in the bottom of the magazine. That's just little small details I think make this a very visually interesting magazine to look at.
The first presentation was held at St Aidan's Church and we did it as a Jubilee theme event, which is shown in the magazine. We also saw some footage of the flats, followed by a speech from myself and one of the young people. We finished the afternoon off with a hot and cold buffet. Everyone received a free copy of the magazine. good afternoon with people leaving the building talking about the flats. The second presentation was held at St Thomas's Church with a cinema format, without the room being dressed as a Jubilee event. A new audience with people who used to live in the flats in it discussing their time there. A very good afternoon. Everybody left enjoying the day. The third presentation was held at the Lowry Theatre. The group decided to do a PowerPoint presentation with a number of young people talking about their section. Two of the young people from the fashion group wore some of the clothes from the 60s and 70s that were highlighted in the magazine. The final presentation was held at the Salford Arts Theatre. The young people wanted this filming. We held a PowerPoint presentation, and at the end of the presentation we invited some of the people in the audience who lived in the flats to come on stage. They answered some of the questions from the audience.
Yeah, I've lived in Lower Kersal for 9 years. I didn't know the flats existed until I got invited to a presentation by the Lower Kersal Young People's Group. And I really enjoyed the events, especially the Jubilee event, which was done at St Aidan's. And I think the young people did a great job on the magazines and the presentations, which I really enjoyed.
Well, I was interested in, I heard about the people of Lower Kersal doing the magazine, and I was interested in finding out what it was all about. I know it was about the flats, but it was interesting to find out what they were doing on the flats. And I've seen the video tonight, really interesting, seeing the flats getting blown up. I was there at the time, and it was really like a jump to the past. It was nice. Bring the history of Kersal back to Kersal. You know, let people know what time they're living in and what happened in the past, like the racecourse over the bridge. And, you know, Kersal got a lot of history. I think we should delve into it.
I think that the young people have got a lot out of it. They've learned about working as a team, how the basics of a magazine runs, editing, pictures, stories, history as well, which was all about finding out the history of Salford. So yeah, they've worked really hard and it's really good. I've learnt more. My grandparents were from the area, but I have learnt things that I didn't know before. I knew the flats have always been there, but I didn't know exactly when they went up and when they came down and everything, and learnt about what it did to the community more.
Overall, it's been a fantastic project, and you know, I'm hoping that we can continue doing things like this in the future. Maybe we do a magazine in different aspects of Lower Kersal and different aspects of history that young people will never ever get a chance to learn about. So having done this, it's now taught them something that they would never have learned otherwise. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I do think it was successful. Everyone seemed to really like our presentations when we gave them. We learnt a lot and it was just fun overall to do. So yeah, I think it was successful.
Just by the reaction of the people we've shown this project to, such as at the presentations or the people who've read the magazine, their reaction to what we've done has been absolutely brilliant. They've loved it. They've loved coming. We've had multiple people who've come to the presentations multiple times just because they like going so much. And I've had people come up to me and ask me for magazines and whatnot and everything as well to give out to people who weren't able to come. So I think it's a brilliant success, and I think it's been incredibly beneficial for everyone, especially the young people who obviously haven't been around as long as me. So to give them the opportunity of learning about the area and actually coming to terms and learning of the history of something that wasn't around when they were born is really interesting to see, and I think a lot of them really appreciate the opportunity to learn about that as well.